Spidey swig, takes a swig in his mouth.
Sounds kind of gay, but that's okay.
Look out! He took a Spidey swig. That's what you get when you got a ginormous Spider-Man cup to drink out of.
You just froze. Fuck.
Did I freeze?
You froze. I got red. Motherfucker.
I got you still.
You got me? Well, I'm back on now. But yeah, so you're talking about your Spider-Man mug?
Yeah.
Nearly every single time, it took me now to realize but nearly every single time we record, I notice you're wearing some kind of different Batman t-shirt or outfit of some kind. Like it'll be the Batman beanie, Batman t-shirt. Now it's like the Batman workout tank top, I noticed.
Yeah, I know.
It's almost kind of like, I'm kind of realizing this. It's almost kind of like your whole attire. It's like the Batman variant. You know when you were a kid and you'd always want like the main, like that normal Batman, but they'd always have like, here's parachute Batman, here's Batman with skis, or here's, something like that. It's like, that's kind of like every outfit's, you're like the variant.
I know, and then I got my Nightwing variant, and then I also have like my Batman expression. Yeah, I was wearing another Batman t-shirt before I put this one on. I just went from Batman to Batman. Every once in a while, like, I switch it up to a Spider-Man or a Captain America or a Punisher.
It's kind of like, be incognito about it,
But, no, I know. This one's sweet, this, like, Batman workout shirt. I got a Superman one, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, one reason I say that is because now that I live in the city over here, there's, like, crime, a little bit of every day, and you almost kind of got to avoid. It's not like I live in a rough part of town, but if you go into the financial district or anything, at some point there's a hobo starting shit with somebody, or there's somebody getting hassled or roughed around some point. And usually that's going to build around, like a crowd's going to build around and start to watch. I'm kind of at the point now where I don't even really wear like superhero t-shirts anymore, because people just turn to you and look like, aren't you going to fucking do something?
Yeah, come on, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. Well, you wear the shirt, you don't get the balls to go out there and help that guy out. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Even though San Francisco's like, it's like the child's playground of like other cities comparative to like the crap that goes on. And, I don't know. I always just think it's like, because, the Tenderloin's looked upon as like the worst place in San Francisco. And compared to like Los Angeles or Stockton or Fresno, it's like, it's almost like a child's playground there, really. It's bad, but it's not really. It's real. There's nothing really too rough about San Francisco. Not saying that something couldn't happen. That could happen anywhere, though, in the world. But just as far as a city goes, it just doesn't have that like fear of like you're gonna get like mugged or shot or something else. Not saying it can't happen, but that could happen anywhere. That could happen in the most peaceful town in all of Canada. But
well, what could happen, like, my town, even like I live in the Richmond district, it's a pretty safe neighborhood, but when the Giants won the World Series again, there were like there's gunfire and celebration everywhere.
Yeah, they do like their Giants there.
Yeah, which kind of really surprised me. It was, okay, I can understand maybe other parts of town, but like Richmond district, it's all primarily Russians and Koreans. So, so just being like, yeah, Giants win! Gunshots outside.
Well, you know what's something to really cheer about? Probably like, I don't know, close to one of the most amazing things is going to happen pretty darn soon. Did you hear about this?
Give me a few guesses. Is it Batman related?
No.
Or DC related?
It's not DC. It's not Batman.
Is it the Nintendo theme park?
It's the Nintendo theme park. That's going to be pretty darn freaking cool at Universal. I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? It's almost worth just moving out to Florida just to go, like, work at that theme park. Just to work in Nintendo.
Oh, it's going to be at Florida, not Los Angeles. I guess I should have figured.
They always started off at Florida. I don't know. It's so weird because, I always think about, Disneyland and Universal, and, like, the regular Universal one, they both start off in Los Angeles. You think that would be the place they would put everything first. But I think it's one of those ones in Florida. Everything's cheaper. It's easier to do. That's why those theme parks are so much bigger and so on.
But they're probably like a lot more lax with like employee taxing and salary over there and all that too.
Well, they don't have entertainment.
Minimum wage is probably low. They don't have entertainment tax over there? Well, that's probably a big reason.
And then minimum wage is like, people always go like, oh, it's so much lower in other states. I'm like, yeah, by like 50 cents. It's not that big.
Well,
of it.
you know, if you're a big corporation, you're probably
50 cents adds up a lot. Yeah. So I think that's the whole reason why Orlando became this hot spot. I think it must be your internet if it's freezing.
What? No, I got you again. You're good.
Okay. Because in Florida, you just can build these humongous parks and nobody's going to say anything. Where in Los Angeles, the real estate's so expensive and there's not very much of it left that I think that's what makes it so difficult. But they're supposed to put the Nintendo Land in Hollywood and in Japan and so on, the other Universal places.
Now, is it one of those things like this is just kind of like a section like Tomorrowland or Frontierland, or is it more of like, oh no, it's getting its own whole theme park?
No, I think it's going to be a section is what it's going to be. It's not like it's still part of Universal. So you're going to go into Universal Studios and it'll be over there. And kind of I think what like the theory is that this Nintendo Land might be what places the Marvel section of it.
That's what I was kind of thinking. Go ahead, yeah.
Because I think the Marvel section they still have it for some time, but I think it's eventually copyright's gonna go away and it's gonna go back to Disney.
I could see it just being all like tattered and just kind of like not really well maintained. Probably like the same Jim Lee artwork from Marvel they've had since like 1996 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. No, but just the idea of a Nintendo park, it's like, that's just so cool and such like a smart and ballsy move by Nintendo to finally kind of step up and do it. Because think about it, you got so many possibilities. You could have Mario Kart rides. You could have like kind of like a Metroid like ginormous wall shooter where you put on like an arm blaster and everything. You could have the F-Zero thrown into the Mario Kart section. I mean, you could have
kind of like Star Tours. I can't see your picture froze, but I can still hear you fine. You could have kind of like a Star Tours, like Star Fox ride kind of thing. I mean, not to rip and pull directly from Disneyland, but I mean, you really could do that thing where you get inside of a box, they have a screen, they shake it around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you could have all kinds of different things. I mean, there's enough possibilities that you could have a full-on Nintendo Land and nothing else. Like, it doesn't even have to have anything.
I bet they're probably gonna try and start off with just kind of like a little section and probably build up and go from there possibly, because I mean now when you think about it, I mean the two only real big parks, I think Paramount's Great America went under and now just Great America. All the rides are still there, but I don't think any of the Paramount licenses.
They took away the Paramount stuff. It kind of like sort of ruined it. I don't know. Like I like the theme part of it. That's like reason why I think I like Universal Studios more than any other theme park, because I like the theme park. So that's what made Paramount really cool. Is you get to go on the Top Gun ride and everything, and then once that kind of went away,
and I think Six Flags, maybe I'm wrong here, but I want to say Six Flags lost a lot of the Warner Brothers licensing. So maybe like this is Universal, like because Universal's always been there. They've never been on the same level as Disneyland, but they've always been like right behind them. So I think maybe Nintendo's like, well, we can't get Marvel anymore, but what's another like geek culture thing that could bring like in like adults and kids by this point? Nintendo,
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's kind of like a big thing. It's just Nintendo would be the perfect thing to have there. Why not?
Yeah, I'm looking. I mean, it's one of those things like it's probably so far away that like it's hard for me to get super excited for. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's kind of like Star Wars. I mean, now real dreams are coming to life. You got Nintendo Land and you got Star Wars Land. And Star Wars Land and Nintendo Land are both probably some time off. But I mean, I want to say what they did. I think I want to say what I heard is Disneyland. They're putting in like a Star Wars section as well as a Marvel section, and then eventually they're gonna have like a full-on Star Wars only park somewhere in Orlando, of course.
No, yeah, they'll have a big, huge one there. It's something like, I've never been to the Orlando section of those parks, but you just always kind of looked at it. I remember being like even a kid, just kind of being like, why it's like everything's so, it's like 3 times bigger and better over there, and just kind of like, don't be wrong, I think what makes the Hollywood ones cool is the fact that they kind of are the classic parks. Like, this is like where the original stuff is, it's, you get to see actual movie sets and so on, where over there everything's kind of like built up out of nothing,
Or if you go to Disneyland, it's like, well, that right there, that is the building that Walt Disney sacrificed 38 versions, back in 1938,
You see a bunch of tourists taking pictures.
You can still see the Bloodstained on the wall. So that's like the special, like if you're like part of the Mouse Club or whatever, No, I hear one of those.
You can't touch that bloodstain right there. You're not wearing a Mickey Mouse cap.
It's got historical value to it.
No, why?
But no, I think that I think that is actually pretty cool. But we'll see what happens. It just seems so far away. I hope it's also not one of those things they say they're going to do and they back out like 2 years in or something like that. Because it's not going to like happen. It's not like going to magically like erect overnight like a set of Legos.
No, that's the only downfalls. Who knows? It could be 6 years away, 7, 8, 9 even. You know, go ahead.
I
say they throw these ideas out there nowadays because I think that the whole thing is just to get people excited about stuff, but also we gotta wait for many things.
Let's see, what could you have there? All right, you got Mario one's is probably the easiest one. I'm guessing you probably just have like some kind of little area you can walk around the Mushroom Kingdom or whatever. There's probably gonna be some kind of like animatronic ride, something like to that effect. What could you do with Metroid though? That's like a really interesting one.
That's like one of the balls here. You have a big screen. Well, you can do multiple things. You could do it as a laser tag kind of, where like you put on kind of like a Metroid-looking suit, you know, and then like instead of having like a regular laser gun, you get to put on the big blaster over your arm, and then you run around like that. That's one option. You could do it sort of like a Star Tours, but where you like are wearing the arm blaster and doing it.
I imagine it'd be something like that. Yeah, if it was the laser tag thing, I'm surprised this hasn't happened. I haven't heard about it yet. It's probably happened. If you some kids and like big ass shoulder pads and like give them like a big ass like plastic like gun on their arm, at some point some kid's gonna get mad and just like pistol whip somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
You know that? I mean, how many times when you went laser tagging as a kid? There's that one little annoying kid, and it was like he would just be firing and be smiling, just in there smiling, and you could actually see his teeth in the darkness because they had the black light, so all you just saw is like this chastised smile of this kid that always, for whatever reason, was good at it or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
And you always just wanted to like I never did it, but you always want to just take the butt of your gun and just like, you know, fucking like bash that fucker right in the teeth.
Exactly. Well, the thing too is like, I got a real weapon here. It's like, I know we're shooting lasers, but I could literally just beat the fuck out of somebody into this dark room and no one would know.
You basically have like a blunderbuss on your arm. That's so good. There's gonna be that one day where that kid's like, you know, fuck it, today's the day. Runs up, smashes some kid
just
in the jaw.
Swinging his Metroid arm like it's a ginormous blunt object, just bashing in another kid.
Day one of the park opening, like the very first ride that opens up.
I wonder if that's the reason why we don't see laser tag very often anymore. Is there just too much liability in there? Because I never... I mean, I guess I've thought about hitting somebody with my gun before, but I didn't think of that as like why those parks might not exist anymore.
They probably, yeah. Maybe they're still there, but it was one of
those
things. But
they're so few and far between now, though. I mean, yes, there is some, but they're not common like they once were.
Also, on top of that, I think, you know, if you have the big Metroid shoulder pads, how many kids would be like running in and slamming into each other?
It's kind of like you're just wearing a bunch of football gear when you think about it, with a gun on the side.
Like, it seemed like a cool idea and concept, but then we realized, oh, right, children.
Children, they will find a way.
They're fucking stupid. They'll find a way to ruin everything. They always do.
I know. Okay, well, we'll make the Metroid Park adult only, which makes it sound even weirder.
That makes it sound...
like Dad's like, so you're saying I get 10 minutes alone with this little Metroid thing? Okay. Here's your $5.
I know what you meant, but I almost imagine like there's like some dark, dingy space bar. I don't know my Metroid lore very well, but there's some dark, dingy space bar. This guy just handed Samus Aran like $5. He goes into this room. The little baby Metroid is sitting on a stool, just shivering and shaking.
It's like have you won a fucking alien before? Well, now you have a chance. You always see that Metroid, it jumps on your head and just starts face fucking you. Well, guess what? It's your turn to get him back.
What goes around, comes all over.
Boy, we never expected this, Nintendo Park to become such a very popular with the adults.
You know, you think the second, like, we put up, like, oh, yeah, we're making the adult-only Metroid Park, that every like, fanboy is like, oh, can I flirt with Samus Aran? No, they go directly for the Metroid. It's soft and cushy.
In fact, not a single person asked for the Samus, for Samus at all. They all just asked for the Metroid. You should see the line for the Metroid. Just getting them back.
It's like in the fucking glory hole of the theme park.
But
then the thing would have probably have if that happens, it probably would not have like gone and that's why it killed itself. It wasn't sacrificing itself for Samus at the end. Just like fuck it, I'm done. It just comes in there and attacks the other Metroid.
But there's a lot of these kind of things that, okay, like, say if this park just opened up in, like, the late 90s, there's so many, like, types of rides I could totally see at it, because you could really just do the thing where, like, you're almost playing the video game, but instead, like, say, like, you're kind of playing, like, a Star Fox 64, like, battle arena, you know, you get to jump in, like, an R-Wing, and it actually moves around and goes up and down, but I don't know, do those things, would that sell still this day and age? Like, if everybody kind of jumped in a sweet-looking R-Wing?
I think what are you talking about? You blinked out for a second. Today's really shitty internet day. Are you talking about like just the little like kind of a thing like Star Tours, where you hop into like a fake spaceship and there's a fake screen and it bounces you around? Or are you talking about kind of like?
But okay,
are you talking like a roller coaster kind of thing? You just happen to be in an R-Wing.
Actually, not those two. Have you ever been to like one of those like military airplane museums where they got? Did you ever get to go into like one of those like the test pilot things where you like you get a
you're
pretty much like in a jet, but like the thing's got a whole cockpit and you got every single key and everything in there, so you get it's a simulator. But that's what I was picturing. Like, what if you were in a bunch of like R-Wing simulators, and then they just had just a really sweet, pretty much multiplayer versus, but you know everybody's in their like their own cockpit and everything, and you get to fly around and turn and everything. I mean, obviously it's not gonna fucking barrel roll. That'd be pretty sweet if it did, though. But you get a bunch of kids like throwing ovens 360 circles.
Like the fucking joystick like breaks, like just continuously spinning and spinning and spinning.
Just like
Pepe's like, all right, I know I said do a barrel roll, but give it a fucking rest, all right, all right.
Shit, man.
They'd have to throw a barrel roll joke in there at some point.
But like, just think about it, like, you just jump in, you just get to play, maybe it's like 16-player multiplayer, because you want to get a lot of people in there. And you get to play from everybody from Fox, the Star Wolf, the Peppy, Slippy, and all the bad guys and so on. And then you just have this humongous, like, 16-player battle, but, like, you get to be in the R-Wing. That's what makes it so, like, why you can't have this at home.
I think that would be pretty cool right there. I think one problem would be just a long-ass line and a long-ass, like, people just kind of waiting for their turn, you know what I mean? I guess it could be like a tournament style thing where if you die, you're eliminated, next guy in line. But I mean that I'm sure there's some way you could probably do that. I think that something like that could work. Here's what I think has to happen. Star Fox, you know, people like Star Fox, gamers like Star Fox, but it's not like the first thing that comes to mind for like the average Joe. I think what they're probably leaning the most on, the two things, or actually probably three things they're leaning the most on for this park, is probably Mario, Zelda, Pokemon. That's probably the three things. I think more Mario and Zelda for the atmosphere and the scenery, Pokemon for merchandising, you know. So I think, and I think that like other stuff could all, I think you know, they'll probably start off more focusing on those three. This is just a rough guess. I've not read anything about it other than just the bare bones. Oh yeah, this is happening. But I could see him starting off and focusing more on those three, and then elaborating from there. And there we get the Star Fox game. There we probably get like maybe an F-Zero game. There we get maybe the Metroid Glory Hole. I don't know, but yeah.
What I'm saying is, like, more of a what-if kind of scenario. Like, obviously, they probably won't focus on these first, but I almost feel like these things are, like, the better attractions. And maybe this is how you... Because, I mean, like, any adult that maybe didn't know who, like, Star Fox was or whatnot, and if they see this ride where you get to jump in this fucking space jet and fight each other, and you're all a bunch of animals, you got to put on, like, a Slippy mask or whatever.
Now it sounds like a furry convention is what it sounds like. The more you try to sell Nintendo to adults, the more it just sounds...
just be like, are you kidding me? Weird. It's just some adult goes like, how much is it going to go back there and fuck that frog thing?
I want the robot to watch. I really get it up if the robot's watching.
I want to punch the robot in the face while I'm fucking the frog.
Art for this kind of thing. I can do it in real life here. I have to do this.
But I still think, well, you know what you can do is like, well, in Star Tours...
Think about this, though. Think about this one real quick. what if like for the Smash Brothers ride, you kind of like go back behind, like, I don't know, there's probably going to be some kind of like, let's say some beer hall from like Legend of Zelda somewhere. You just go in the back alley and knock on the door, like, where's the smashing going on? You know, they take you downstairs.
It's like Lon Lon Ranch.
Yeah, there you go. You like bang on the door, you go downstairs, and then that's where you have like all like the like guys in the mascot suits, you know, like just beating the fuck out of each other. And it's like really violent and really gritty, and you have to fight for your entertainment. Like that's the Smash Brothers section of the park.
It'd be funnier too if it was the children were fighting and they were dressed up as the characters, and there's a bunch of adults just placing bets on them.
Like, go, Jimmy!
Billy, you finish him off! Daddy, I don't want to! Don't make Daddy lose money now!
They chuck on the giant, like, fucking Donkey Kong hammer.
Yeah, there's just adults chucking in weapons down there.
Like baseball bats. Someone throws a live turtle.
It's like Thunderdome down there. Like... just the farther you get into it, the more weapons start coming down.
And then he just stands there, like, you know, you just hear, like, you know, when it gets down to the final, like, match, you just hear the crowd, like, smash, 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 just the crowd.
Oh, yeah, it's like this Nintendo park just turns into, like, this, like, mafioso, like, gambling hall of, like, adult things.
It sounds like it's slowly just going into, like, a fucking, like, you know, just Arkham City or something. They just like, you know, we started off with this idea for this really fun family themed park, but then it just slowly kind of like, oh, let's make it more edgy. Let's make it more like just a little bit more adult oriented. Next thing you know, it's kind of quarantined. You can go in, you just can't leave. If you go in, you're now a resident of Nintendo Land.
It's sort of like that giant like Fight Club thing in Street Fighter V that like Ryu and Ken go to in like China.
Yeah, like there's no law there. So like we just left that part of the city alone. You just see like these bob wired fences, you know.
It's all inside Universal Studios.
It's all separate from you. Like, all right, if you can go there, we're not going to stop you, but no one's coming for you. Just understand that.
It's like we had this really nice.
Go in, like.
I was gonna say, we had this really nice safari zone, but then once the adults took it over, it just became a hunting ground where people started eating Pikachus and Laprases on a barbecue outside.
The idea was, you know, it's kind of like a game. They had like these guys in suits with Pikachus and Laprases, and they just like, you'd have to be like kind of a game. You like throw a piece of fake food at it, and then you throw like a Pokeball at it, and like, oh, you caught it. But then people started bringing loaded weapons, you know?
And then they just started off like giant pit barbecues out there. The safari
They didn't realize that was a dude in the suit. They were eating styrofoam and flesh, but whatever.
It's just almost like it's becomes.
We already kind of. It was only a matter of building up to this once we okayed the Metroid glory hole.
Yeah, if we just didn't accept those like $5 that people were handing out, just like go fucking Metro. I
just see like Mario is like the warlord of Nintendo Land. He's up there like dressed like Lord Humongous, has like fucking like Toad is a gimp like on a chain, you know.
And just with King DDD and like Bowser.
As this like right-hand man like holding baseball bats and hammers and shit.
It's just like, it just looks like kind of like Smithy's Keep from like Mario RPG with the big sword stabbed into it and everything.
There you go. Yeah, there's that one too.
just scary and dark and. Boy, this Nintendo Land, like literally, they just took it over from the inside out. Now I wonder if, like, in Nintendo Land, can you go to like, you know, the underground jail, like in fucking Disneyland?
Well, I guess you'd probably have to, if you go to the underground jail, it's probably, you know, just like they have thwomps going up and down, and you have to hop over lava. You know, like, look, we don't throw any cages down there. They just got to get through this obstacle course, and if they can get through that shit, fine, you can leave. Yeah, who's gonna stop you?
Yeah, who's gonna stop you? But if you get thwomped, then well, it's your own damn fault.
That shit's on you. Yeah.
I like how in all this we never came up with a single Mario ride other than Mario Kart. It's like, I don't know what it is. Like, okay, a straight up Mario, like, what would be a straight up Mario ride?
I imagine it would be something kind of like, in all honesty, I mean, I think we all think like, oh, it has to be some crazy roller coaster with this and that. I think a Mario ride would basically be something kind of like what's it called? It's like there's a million of them at Disneyland, just more like animatronic dioramas, that kind of thing. I imagine it would be something to that effect. Maybe like there's probably more than one. There's just not going to be the one Mario ride. There's probably going to be something like Splash Mountain, probably like that. Like you're probably on a little cart going through various scenes and going through different areas of the Mushroom Kingdom, and maybe a little animatronic Mario pops up by, or like a Pirates of the Caribbean, something like that.
Yeah, and you just hear like or
you just go down the slide of death.
Yeah, you're just going down the slide, and then you just kind of see all these Mario things along the way.
Mm-hmm. I can totally see that. I imagine, in like, you know, or maybe it's like the Roger Rabbit ride where that one had all the scenery, but it was a little more faster moving and took quick turns and this and that, you know?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I actually kind of forgot about that ride.
Yeah. Well, that's because a kid died on it.
Yeah, okay, maybe that's the reason why it's kind of gone.
Yeah, a kid died. I want to say, I mean, I really don't want to blame anybody, but I want to always say it's something stupid, like the kid should have buckled the seat or tried to force himself out of the seatbelt and climbed up over here, or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he was just trying to kill himself.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know if that is the case. Every once in a while, there is one of those stories where they, I remember like a big story, there's the drop zone in Paramount's Great America, and it was kind of like, yeah, well, this probably wasn't the safest thing, but it was also probably one of the stupidest things to do in the first place. There is like a mentally challenged kid, like a really full on like mentally challenged kid, and they put him on the drop zone of all things. And when it was going up, he was like shaking and forcing, trying to get out of the thing, trying to just kept on shaking and shaking, trying to get out of the thing. And then when it went down, he just came out of the harness. So it's kind of like whenever I hear one of those stories, it's like, the thing's probably, you know, there probably is some safety issues in the first place, but it's always kind of like pushed more. I'm not going to blame that on the kid. I'm going to blame on the fucking parents for putting a mentally challenged kid on the fucking drop zone of all things, but yeah.
Well, most of the time, too, it's like you always realize when somebody mostly dies on a ride, it's because they did something they weren't supposed to do. Like, they unbuckled their seatbelt, or they stood up, or they, you know, put their, well, mostly supposed to be enough room so you can put your hands out anywhere, but, you know, they did something, you know, exactly, kind of breaking the rules.
Now, there is the occasional kind of like, all right, yeah, that is totally on the park. They totally fucked it up. I want to say, which one was? I think Space was. There's all these like rumors. Was Space Mountain the one where someone got decapitated on because they were really tall?
I heard that was on the Matterhorn one. Like, and once again, it was somebody stood up.
Somebody stood up.
Because the Matterhorn, it used to be like you just sat down and you kind of got in like you just had like the most gayest position of seating. It was just like, oh, hey, you and your three friends. Well, guess what? Put your dicks together. Like you're just...
Yeah, well, it was. I remember it was like you had to kind of lean in because it was like you're on a bobsled or something. So you had to hold on to these handlebars and lean in over your friend's back. So
well, yeah, and you're all like, it was like you were all on like a motorcycle. Kind of everybody's riding bitch behind whoever got there first.
And so like whoever you're behind, like hopefully it was somebody you knew and not some guy like, hey, is this your first time at Disneyland? It's mine. It's so fucking fun. You know,
he's doing the reach around the whole time.
Some stranger. You turn around. Oh fuck! It's Mickey Mouse.
He's like, you know where I can fuck a Metroid here.
I can show you the Metroid Bar. The Metroid Bar is really fun, man.
You know, just the fucking creepiest voice possible.
$5? Can I borrow $5? I spent $322 already.
when you hear from the glory hole, like you're, oh, do a barrel roll. You see like Peppy walking out like with this look of shame, like, oh, who am I? I used to be somebody.
I just can't stop all the money I make.
He like walks up to the mirror in like this fucking dingy bathroom. He's like, who are you? Who are you?
I don't know you. And he starts punching the mirror.
Until like his fist is bloody.
And then he just kind of like leans back in the corner of the restroom and just crying himself.
That's old Peps, don't worry. He's gonna...
As the camera starts to fade away, you just hear Rolling Stones like, you're just a memory.
Like start to play.
That you used to be.
We could do kind of like, just this whole like anthology of the different tragic figures of Nintendo Land. Kind of like it's It's this. It's like each. It's like from the beginning of each episode is from the beginning of Nintendo Land to where it is now, where it's this, like dingy cesspool of crime and violence. But it's each individual character has their own episode. So you see like Peppy, his all like, oh, they're opening Nintendo Land. This will be fun. At the very end, like, oh, where am I? And you see Mario kind of like going in with the best expectation. It's like, if you're going to have real power, if you're going to have order, shit has to happen. People got to die. So it's kind of this Walter White like story for Mario.
It's him and Bowser working together. Two guys you never thought would be working like this, but
like Link is like trying to keep the peace. He's trying to keep the order. He's almost like kind of like the good cop, but then he's just kind of like he realizes he dies on the job. He dies on the job, not like believing in something, but something right before he dies, he realizes that thing's never gonna happen. Like it's almost like a Showtime series. Like every episode is just a different character and maybe
Link
different
gets
like
torn
parts
apart by
of
a bunch of fangirls, like physically torn apart, like violently.
By fangirls?
Yep, that's what happens to Link. He gets stormed in, and then like he gets trampled to death in his own like event. That's what makes it tragic.
Mm-hmm. He didn't know he was like. He didn't know that he was on the event. Like, okay, Link, we're gonna need you to go just monitor this area. That's what Mario tells him. He looks over at Bowser, gives him a nod. Looks at Ganondorf, gives him a nod. And all of a sudden, like, just the lights go up behind him. Says, "Meet Link." He's like, "What the fuck?" And like the doors open up, fangirls just run in.
It was all set up by Ganon too. It was planned. It was like Ganon found the way to get rid of Link.
He's all like, like Luigi's like, "Hey Mario, you want to talk about it?" He says, "No, I just want to get back to business." He just walks out of the room.
Luigi's trying. He's like, "I just want to bring the park back to the true fans, for family entertainment and stuff."
The only reason Luigi isn't dead is because
you're my brother, Luigi. That's why you're not fucking dead yet.
You broke my heart, Luigi. It's like fucking Godmother too. It's just once Mama dies, that's when we go after Luigi, So he and fucking Yoshi go out fishing, out at the little like fishing spot, like
the Zelda Lake. Fishing, like Hyrule.
Runs up behind him, puts a fire flower to the back of his head. Boom.
It's just this long shot, tossing the body into the lake.
Mario standing there at the window, arms behind his back. Alright, back to business.
Back to fucking business.
The Splatoon thing. I don't like it.
It just looks like a bunch of people jizzing on each other. Maybe that's popular nowadays with the kids, but, there used to be a time of order and reason. There's a fine line you don't fucking cross.
One, kids dressed like squids jizzing on each other. Never thought I'd see that coming, but if it's going to make money, sure enough, throw it there. Get it away from me, though. I don't want to see it. I don't want to know about it. But if it's making money, it's there, okay? Be clear?
Well, speaking of Splatoon, that would probably, let's just say, if that game actually turns out to be a hit, that will probably be like the Nickelodeon's like area where you get like the green stuff on you. What the fuck is that called again?
Spill Zone or Double Dare?
Yeah.
Because there was like, I remember Paramount's Great America. That as a kid,
Goop had a name. Whatever that stuff was, it was like
GAC?
No, because GAC I think was
the putty stuff that you could buy as a kid that was made for no other purpose than to get stuck in your parents' rug.
Yeah. No, God, what the hell was that?
Every kid I know that had like GAC at some point, and myself included, I feel bad about, would get stuck in your parents' rug. And like, God, why we spent $5 just to get a fucking stain on a rug?
It's just like, fuck, we could have got him a pack of bubblegum for like a quarter of the price. And hopefully it would have just stayed in his mouth.
Hopefully. No, but like there The Splatoon thing, I mean, I think now they're like afraid to do. I mean, before just like, hey, here's some like slime and paint. We don't give a fuck. But now in this day and age, they're probably like, oh, we can splash water on them, but that's where it stops because we don't want to have to pay for like damaged clothes or people complaining about having their cell phones out. It got on the cell phone, made it all nasty and broke it or whatever.
That's true. I didn't think about that, but that probably became a big issue for that, like for the Nickelodeon thing. God, what the fuck was that called?
Because if you imagine, because like I remember when I was a kid, now I imagine if they did have something like it, you'd probably have to like leave your phone like behind or something. But I remember but one of the things about going to like Paramount's Great America was you had the Nickelodeon land, and it wasn't so much of like, oh, here's a Nickelodeon ride. It's more of like, it was more of, now I'm thinking back on it. I want to say that there was actually Universal. Maybe they later transferred it over there, but there was like in Paramount's Great America, they had a Nintendo land, not Nintendo, a Nickelodeon land. And I want to say what that was more of, they like had maybe like a Rugrats section where everything was made to look bigger because you're supposed to be like a Rugrat.
Oh, no, that makes sense though, because Paramount owned Nickelodeon. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, yeah, and then they had like this little game show thing where you go in and you'd have to answer questions and they would like splash like like fucking green slime or whatever on you if you got it wrong. I think maybe like something like Double. I don't remember the different Nickelodeon game shows, but I remember like something like Double Dare or to that effect. And then then beyond that, they just had it was mostly just like shops with Nickelodeon toys and T-shirts and like guys in costumes going by. I don't remember any actual rides, but I remember there was like the Rugrats Zone or something. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just going off my memory right there.
I also want to say though, I do think they had a Nickelodeon section at Universal. I know that sounds weird, but I could have swore that I remember the first time I went to Universal, they had the game show thing, and as a kid I was like, I don't want the green stuff on me. No, I am not going in there. Which probably because think about just like you have to walk around all day. Maybe they give you like something like, I don't know, like a Gallagher show or something. You got like a fucking tarp you can pull over yourself or whatnot. I know like on TV they don't, but
yeah, or maybe it's just like that part like in 28 Weeks Later where they like spraying the mom in the quarantine room like, nah!
To clean you off.
Yeah, like people like in fucking like hazmat suits like with like fucking brushes and brushing you down like, no, stop. But they never show you behind the scenes.
But yeah,
that stuff actually burns.
You could technically, I don't know if you could do this at a theme park, but you could have like a Splatoon kind of like paintball. Once again, I don't think you could do paintball like a regular theme
just
park.
Spraying paint everywhere.
Yeah, just copious amounts of wasted paint everywhere.
It's all lead. Too.
And then you just see some kid. This problem is the first accident. Some kid tries to dive into the paint, just goes head first and breaks his skull.
It is a matter of time before somebody just starts spraying this paint everywhere, and like one kid's stupid enough to try and drink it, fucking dies of poisoning.
You just see some kids like, dude, I found your dad's paint. We can still play Splatoon outside, and then just like chucks it on his driveway.
That sounds like a fucking 90s commercial right there, kind of like, hey kids, get the new paint gun because your parents don't give a fuck.
They got money rides, 90s. And
then a lot of commercials around toys would always, or like around aimed at kids, would always revolve around like the parents' house getting fucked up and the kid being, oops, with his hands up. I remember there was like some kind of like, what was it? This isn't a toy, but it was definitely aimed at kids. It was like ketchup that was like different colors, like green and purple and whatever. And like it was this dad like in his bathrobe. He didn't look like he wanted to be doing. He just looked like, in a word, like defeated. Just pushing this old lawnmower that barely worked in the shitty yard. I don't want to fucking be here. Then he like kicks. He comes to like a soccer ball. He stands there for a minute, stares at it, and like with this like very begrudging, like fuck you, kicks it, and rolls over to the other side of the house, and he just gets this look of horror and shock on his face. And you see the kid, like, painted the whole side of the house with fucking this colored ketchup.
Oh, I remember that commercial.
They didn't show anybody eating the fucking shit. It just showed, like, look, you can paint the side of your parents' house with this shit.
It was like that ketchup that came in all different types of colors. It just looked really fucking nasty.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember as a kid, it was like, oh, that poor dad.
Yeah, he's got to clean that up afterwards after a shitty day at work, and he doesn't have any money for himself. He decides his kid wants colored ketchup, so he decided to spend his hard-earned money on it.
He was probably divorced. He probably had the kid over the weekend. The kid probably just left. You know?
So I can't even fucking yell at the kid now, because it's not like they got cell phones or anything.
So now he's like mowing the lawn. All right, well, here's my one day to myself this week after I got into a fucking argument with my girlfriend and my ex was jumping on me about the child support. I'm just going to go mow the lawn. My lawn. It's not a nice lawn, but it's my lawn. God damn it. And I'm going to make it mine. I'm going to make it look nice. What the fuck is that on the side of my house?
Poor guy.
90s commercials really just taught children shitty fucking values. We talked about this one before, but there's like the Nickelodeon, there's fuck, what was it?
The cereal one, though, for the waffle.
The Rice Krispies one, where they're always the cereal ones always taught you shitty values, but there was one especially. It was Rice Krispies. He's like, their catchphrase for a little while was, "You want some Rice Krispies? Sure." Psych! Pulls it away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like, nope. Just tell kids to fucking lie to other children.
Because fuck you, your pores too short, too long to fit on a box.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break right here. But now a word from our buddies at Painted Black Podcast. Take a listen.
I'm Pete, that's Brian.
Yeah.
There's Lou. We are Painted Black Podcast. We are Painted Black Comics.
If you could describe the show, what would you describe it?
Horribly offensive.
Balls to the walls.
A good time.
I don't know.
Very
Unprofessional? I wouldn't be
Bang,
surprised
zoom!
if fucking Barney heard some screaming from next door. Right?
Hey, yo, Fred, I got kicked out of the house. Can I stay with you guys for a little bit? No, Barney. We're not friends like that.
You better go stay with Kazoo.
Yeah. Dum-dum, you should have said yes to your wife. Can you imagine what Disney World would have been like had he lived longer?
No Jews? That's the primary difference.
Yeah. I feel like he funded the Nazis in some way. Like, I can't prove it.
The first fucking model of their helmet had ears on it.
Oh, the Basketeers are coming over the hill. What the fuck's going on?
Dosan sounds like a Renaissance painter.
He was the fifth Ninja Turtle. He wasn't right in the head. They didn't really bring him out too much. I'd like to fight the foot.
That's probably why they had those stupid ass toppings.
Bubble gum.
Fuck, who let those Santos order the pizza?
I want
again?
stink bug!
Who put Legos on this shit? Can I give you money for sex?
I would enjoy making a transaction for a blowjob.
Can I get a receipt with that pussy?
Oh, yeah. How do I follow this?
Do you wash those briefs with starch?
Make that booty clap. Why don't you?
Let's hear Randy Newman doing the song for Pompeii.
Oh, he's on the spot.
Whoa, did smoke. Volcano. Whoa, it's the smoke.
Well, speaking of something else cool, I know we both went out and saw Maggie, the new Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that's got a very limited release, but still, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger doing a drama, doing a kind of a horror drama, really more than anything else. But it's a different thing for him, and I
Definitely
thought it was
really different.
I thought it was pretty darn good.
I'll say this though, it definitely is more. I mean, it's in the title, but it's definitely more Abigail Brenson's movie than it is Arnold's.
Yeah,
but,
Arnold isn't in it he's not in it that much.
He's there. I think he's there a lot. I mean, I think he's there probably like second amount compared to anybody else because it is almost kind of like it's more between the father and the daughter than it is anybody else.
Oh yeah,
but
he's there but like the movie really focuses on Maggie. Like that's once again it's in the title, but
yeah,
it is really heavily focused on her. And then he just kind of has his scenes in it and whatnot.
It was actually pretty good. This is like the first, I looked it up on IMDb. This is the first time, this is like the first movie by the writer as well as the first movie by the director who primarily does like opening credit sequences and visual effects stuff for other movies. Like he did the opening credits for he did like the credit sequences for like Last of Us, Lone Ranger, Rango, a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah, I mean that's still like a ton of work. It's not like this was the guy's first movie and he didn't do anything else other than this one small little project.
If you get a job like that, it's probably not. You probably don't land on. Oh, I want to be the credits guy. It's probably just a job you get and you stick with it, and you probably wait for an opportunity like this to make a movie like this.
Well, yeah. Well, this is one of those kind of movies. Like, if it didn't really have Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, you could see this movie being like a $20,000 movie. It literally could be that very easily. You know, I mean,
I could see it being kind of like like a straight. I'm not saying this is a slant or anything against it, but just the kind of movie it is. I can see it being kind of like a Netflix original kind of movie. If Arnold or Abigail Brenson weren't in it.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about like Netflix original because that's still pushing the budget. I'm talking about like this movie has a feel like it totally could be just like a real independent movie where it's just made by a couple kids in their backyard almost. And that's not bringing it down, but it has that very simplicity to it that you could technically shoot this movie anywhere that you got kind of some farm country.
Mm-hmm. I will say what I thought was kind of cool about it was. Usually when people do, I mean, we've seen kind of like everything with zombies by this point, and I guess the one thing you can kind of do, the two things you can do by zombies is kind of do what everybody expects you to do, but just do it really good, like make the gore really good, make the kills really good, and have a couple of likable characters, like kind of like Zombieland, like those kind of likable characters, something to that effect. Because Zombieland, that basically, yeah, we know everything with zombies has been done by now, we're just going to do a really good job at it. And then or you do something different, and it's kind of hard to do something different with it. But what was interesting about this is kind of like, all right, well, it's like the zombie apocalypse already happened. Society is just starting to kind of rebuild. It's not like full on there yet. And just heads up, I know we probably don't need to say this if you listen to the show a lot, but spoilers are ahead. Mm-hmm. So anyway, but society's already kind of starting to rebuild, and it's not like it's totally out of the woods yet, but just government is starting to get back up. There are zombies wandering around, but most of them are still dead, and the sickness is still going around. And it's Abigail Brenson happens to leave one day for whatever reason, gets it, and comes back home, and she has 2 weeks to live.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about it, I think, is the fact that, in most zombie movies, it always turns to, like, an apocalypse. The world fucking ending, all this stuff. This one had that kind of thing where it's like, oh, yeah, there was this big outbreak, and it did kill a lot of people, but it didn't destroy the world, like, mm-hmm. I mean, once again, we're only focused on a small little area. But it just felt like it was just more of this outbreak. It happened. Mankind kind of took it over, and now we got it sort of under control, where once people are infected, we'll still let them, hang out with their families for a bit, but there comes a point where they got to go, which I'm kind of surprised at the same time, too. You think that this thing would be like, no, because we don't know when this girl's going to turn. She could turn in 10 minutes. She could turn in 10 days. It's not worth risking the outbreak once again. But it does seem like they sort of have it where it's like, okay, we can make it, we have enough drugs that can keep it so it takes 2 weeks. Instead of, because I think a zombie's supposed to turn, I think, in 24 to 48 hours. It's not, or even less than that. It's not like a 2-week process.
If you're going by George A. Romero rules, yeah.
Well, that or the Zombie Survival Guide, which I always look as like, that is like the most realistic version of like.
That's why I just didn't like World War Z, because it's set. That's where the Zombie Survival Guide is from.
Yeah, it's this World War Z is the second book.
And that's right there. I never read the Zombie Survival Guide, but I read World War Z, and it's almost kind of like, because World War Z kind of takes you through different areas of the zombie apocalypse, and this almost seems kind of like, I mean, maybe there was a big, like, there obviously was a lot of death. Maybe there was like a big, like, clash and just like, like almost apocalyptic like thing, and the world just starting to rebuild. There's a certain chapter in the book where it's talking about the rebuild and talking about, just reforming like gated communities and gated societies, and people in the neighborhood would all have to do their part and take shifts around, like patrolling the neighborhood and this and that. And it sort of seems like this movie is at that point right there.
Oh, you're talking about Maggie?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, yeah. That's the cool thing about it, is it's a very realistic kind of like zombie movie. But it is that sort of thing that people, like, they're kind of, like, living with the disease, and they're sort of accepting it. Like, people aren't really that judgmental, you know what I mean? It's not like, you fucking zombie walking around out here in public with the rest of us. It's more just that thing, it's like,
you got the kind of thing where
Billy's a zombie, but you know, whatever. He's still cool until he's dead.
He's gonna die soon. He's not dead yet. Like once you reach a certain point, that's when they just off you. And there is this thing where she slowly starts to kind of like become more zombie-like and more zombie-like. But it has this very like I think like one of the best parts of the movie is actually the very end, because I really didn't know what they're gonna do with it. I thought that it was gonna basically go something to the effect of like he lets her go, and she just kind of ends up wandering out into the out in the wilderness to where we know. I knew it was going to have a happy ending, but the ending actually is, I think, one of the strongest things is where she is basically almost kind of like full zombie at the very end, and Arnold Schwarzenegger knows it, and he just kind of sitting there, and he's kind of pretending to sleep, and he's waiting for her to. I think he's waiting. Maybe he's really sleeping. I thought he was pretending, but she wanders up to him when she's all full zombie, and she kind of lingers there for like a minute. It's one of the like probably most tense parts of the movie, and then she just kisses him on the head and then walks away.
Yeah,
and then she's on top of the roof and jumps off. So it's kind of like
herself, and that's the end of the
killed
movie.
herself, so her father didn't have to live with it, and also kind of died while she was still semi-human, as opposed to being kind of like full tilt, like brainless zombie.
Yeah, no. So she took it into her own hands to solve the thing, because even the doctor's like, he's like, you got a couple options. You can send her to the quarantine zone, which apparently nothing good happens there, or you can you can give her this drink or whatever that it's going to be painful, but it will take her out. But I think the best thing you should do is do it yourself. He's like, use that. He points to like the shotgun or whatever. Just do it yourself.
Yeah.
That's the best way. So Arnold's kind of like, he has that thing where he's like, I don't want to have to do it myself. So it's either that or he would do the thing I could almost see is where he like kind of locks her in like a room or whatnot, sort of like how that next door neighbor did.
Because there's a part where he is where he basically, she's walking out in the woods, because it's one of those things that actually movie, every once in a while, I think it does a good job of it. It's not boring or anything. It is kind of a slow movie, but it doesn't feel too boring. I couldn't imagine watching it like a bunch over and over.
No, that's the one thing I will say. It's definitely kind of like you watch it about once, and it's really good for that one watch. Yeah, it's definitely one of those ones. Like I could see seeing it again, like down the line, but I couldn't imagine really watching it more than about a few times in like your entire life. It's good, but it's one of those ones like. That's the only downfall of like that kind of style of movies. Like they can be like the best movies, but they only have that real one watch experience.
And basically, it's kind of dealing with. It's also, I mean, it's one of those kind of movies that, I mean, it's almost kind of like dealing with like it's talking about stuff that you really don't want to think about, because nobody really wants to talk about and think about death, and we do once in a while. And this movie is almost kind of like bringing up the question, what if you only have 2 weeks left to live? And, nearly every other movie, like, I'm going to go see the world and do everything I ever wanted to do. It's like one of those things like, well, what if you don't have the money for it or the options or, what are you going to do in that case? And it's kind of like this slow kind of like, it is kind of like this weird, it puts you in this weird place of like, well, what am I going to do here? I'm just going to try to reflect and try and focus on the good things. But, I mean, we all know what's going to happen at the end,
Yeah, it's like that the character's going to die the whole time. The character knows that. Everybody around them knows that. And it's just that.
But they're all trying to be normal. They're all trying to pretend like it's not there,
Yeah, exactly. It's just to kind of live with it. And then the fact that another cool thing they kind of did too is like sort of when that neighbor lets their 2 zombie like family members out. They have one that's just like a little 4-year-old girl, which that's the one thing you almost never see in zombie movies is kid zombies. And I don't know why that's like I don't know why you never see that. You should, or it's like in Resident Evil. I always thought like, why the fuck is there not like kid zombies? I'm like, that's fucking scary. Just like a fucking kid running after you that's tiny and everything, but you never see it in anything. But I think it has to do something with like the fact that there's always that weird thing about like that kids can't be like, it's like in video games. That's why you never can shoot kids like in video games or kill kids.
Because things like Columbine and whatever, like, oh, it's training us to kill children or whatever.
Yeah, well, because it's like Grand Theft Auto never had kids in it to kill, and even games that like you get something like a Fable where it's like you can do everything you ever wanted except you can't kill this kid.
Yeah. That's like that's one of the things that in like Fallout 3, I was like, beat the fuck out of this, chasing this kid with a fucking baseball bat, like who are you gonna kill next, mister? And they run off like. Motherfucker,
It's one of those things. It's like it's such a dumb thing. It's just one of those ones like if you're gonna allow somebody to do everything else known to mankind, like it's once again it's a video game. It's not real, Like, why the fuck? Especially too, like, if they're zombies or something, or if they're like, you know, like, why can't I fuck? I mean, in Halo, you get to kill like the fucking like little kid alien things. Even though I guess in Halo it's like, yeah, but they're fucking aliens. Who fuck cares? They're not people.
I think those are just a small breed of alien. I didn't know grunts were babies. Maybe
I don't know. It just, to me, it always feels like you're shooting their children. Because I just picture them as the space terrorists once again, so we all know that they use their children as war soldiers.
Yeah. It is, like, Halo basically is space Republicans versus space terrorists when it gets down to it. But just to clarify, for me, it's not even kind of like when I play a video game, like, oh, wow, I want to fucking kill a kid. But it's when the game just tells you. It's almost kind of like it's almost like you yourself can be very, like, I myself can be a very indignant child. Like, okay, you can do everything in this game, but this one thing. And just like, well, why can't I do that one thing? You almost just get that. It's not like I go into a game like, I need to kill a kid. Well, and that's the one thing you can't kill in the game. Like, well, why not?
No, yeah, it's not like saying like, yeah, that's like the reason for a game and stuff. It's just one's like, why can't I do it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're giving me all these other choices, but you're taking that one away from me. And I also say too, it's like, you know, like I just think like a zombie. It's like, why not? And even in movies, you never see like kid zombies very often. Every once in a while, you'll see one here and there, in one, but it's
28
so
days later.
Fucking rare to see that. It's just like, come on, just like fucking do it.
Then like he ends up having to like, because she comes across like two zombies, one of them being like their neighbors, and he kills them both, and then later the wife comes by and she just wants to know where they died and wants to see them, and she gets arrested for not turning them into the quarantine, and then he goes to their house the next day. It's all caution taped off, and like it's kind of like Arnold's best scenes are the scenes where it's almost like, I mean, he doesn't really, I mean, he's in the movie. It's not saying that, like, you know, his talking takes it out, but it takes you out of it. But it's almost like the parts where he's not talking. That sounds like it sounds like it sounds like an insult, but it's not. But it's almost more the scenes where he's just kind of looking around and taking everything in. It's kind of like, oh shit, because he goes into the house of where the neighbor had the kid and the husband, and basically she said that like, the husband didn't want the kid to die and suffer alone. So he went in there with her to basically become a zombie with her, so she wouldn't just be scared and alone. That's kind of what he did. Mm-hmm. And then they were locked in there for days. And she tells us, she has this great monologue. She says like, oh, there's screaming, there's banging, there's clanging around. And then when Arnold finally goes in there, he sees the room is just thrashed and ripped apart. But then you can see that he wrote before he went full zombie, like this thing, like, I love my wife, I'm with my daughter now, please don't judge. You know, something kind of like basically his death note. Mm-hmm. And it's Arnold just kind of gets a 360 of the room, just kind of sits there for a minute, and like a single tear kind of builds up and comes down. It's like, those are kind of like the moments where he does the best. And it's not saying that his talking takes away from it, because it doesn't, but I think the moments where it's just him just kind of like quietly reacting to what's going on around him is kind of like the scenes where he does the best in the movie. There's a really heartfelt scene where he's working on his car talking to Abigail Brinson. I think it's Abigail Brinson, it's her name. There's a part when, like, you know, he's talking about, because basically the lady he's living with now, it's his new wife. It's Maggie's mother died. So and he's just talking about his mother, about her mother to her, and working on the car. And it's kind of like one of the more sweeter, nicer scenes of the movie. So how dark and bleak the movie is almost kind of makes the few like sweeter, nice moments that much better.
Yeah, no, it's got a lot of these little touching moments in it and everything. And it is just one of those ones, like, I just kind of like it because it's just sort of this different take. Another thing you don't really ever see in zombie movies too often, or in video games, is you don't really see the progression of somebody turning into a zombie. It's mostly always like, oh, they got bit. Ah, they fell asleep. The next day they woke up. It's a zombie! You know, it's like, it's always like that. So to see this, like, slight progression of her kind of going farther and farther, and her veins kind of popping out, and her skin getting whiter, and her eyes starting to change, and everything like that. There's all these small things just kind of building up is kind of cool.
Is a dog person, one of the, even though it's not completely dog, one of the saddest parts of that whole movie was the fox scene.
Oh yeah, where she eats the... That part was weird because I was like, that was the only part that's like, I always kind of hate to do that. It's like, zombies don't eat animals though. It's like, that's the way, that's kind of like a zombie,
yeah, but
like,
it ain't traditional zombie. It's like a it's still the zombie. It's still kind of like some kind of like Well, they're being creative with it. They're in their own takes. This one takes 2 weeks or whatever to turn it to become a zombie.
Well,
so.
this is my theory to back it up, because in real zombies that doesn't happen. But the only thing I'm thinking is that she's doing something sort of like, it's like Interview of a Vampire. How Brad Pitt, instead of eating humans, he keeps eating animals because he just doesn't want to eat other humans. Which to me, drinking the blood of animals seems even worse. Might as well go out and get some evil people out, fucking Tom Cruise style. But so what she does, I think she's trying to eat the fox instead of eating another human. It's kind of like to fight the urge, and then she realizes it doesn't work. So that's what I think it is, more than her just having an urge to eat the fox. I think it's she's gonna try to eat the fox because it's there, and to see if that will cut the urge out.
I just felt bad for it because I'm just a dog person, and fox is basically a small dog.
Yeah,
and,
it's pretty much, it's like nature's dog, the outdoor dog.
What dogs were at one point in time, other than wolves, but
Yeah.
So it's basically nature. It's basically nature's lapdog. Nature's little lapdog kind of.
Yeah, and then so that was kind of an extreme scene, but no, overall that movie it was all pretty darn good, and it's only an hour and a half, so it's about the perfect length. Because if it was any longer, I think it feel like it would drag on a bit, or you'd have to add some more action scenes in there. And Arnold, he gets 3 killing scenes in the entire movie, so, there you go for anybody who want to see Arnold kill something.
It's look, at some point, I get to knock somebody over. I don't care if it's a zombie or not. I get to hit something,
I was kind of waiting for some point in the movie. I mean, I knew that this movie was totally supposed to be a different thing, but, at some point, everybody get inside, the zombies are coming, as it turns nighttime, and then Arnold has to take the gun and just starts, shooting out the windows and everything. Just this one...
I think that's what a lot of people were hoping for, or, when the cops are we're coming for your daughter. Hell you are! And, pulls out, 2 shotguns, blows them away.
Shooting all these cops and everything, defending the house. And it just kind of ends in this huge, almost like a Western ending, where he's protecting his daughter from, the police coming in to get her, and then it has a tragic thing where they both end up dying, both him and his daughter, in, a hail of bullets.
I assumed it may have been something kind of like that. I didn't think it was going to go full 80s action movie, but I assumed maybe that when the cops come back, there would be some kind of scene where he would where he probably would be fighting off the cops and he gets shot, and then the daughter maybe just goes out there herself or something and it gets shot, something to that effect. I assumed it would be something like that, but now. Maybe what if you just talk to directors? Says, no, that's totally what I wanted. I just didn't have the money for it, Yeah, I just did the touching.
All $8 million went to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I just did the touching suicide thing. Just I guess I'll settle for this. But I really wanted to see Arnold blow some fuckers' heads off. But yeah, that's what we got.
Yeah, well, it's those ones I think one, it's cool to see Arnold Schwarzenegger do something completely different. But don't get me wrong, if it had those other scenes in it. I'm not gonna lie. I'd probably like the movie a little bit more if there's just a little bit more action in it. Don't get me wrong. I like it for what it is, but I think if there was just that tad bit more action, it would make it go from those movies where it's oh yeah, it's one of those movies you watch once and you really enjoy it for that one time you watch it, but you probably don't care to watch. There's one of those movies you could probably go without ever seeing it ever again, and it's not like that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's just that's kind of how these type of movies are. It's sort of how they're made. They're not made as a over and over watching movie.
Well, I think that's how just movies that are about contemplating death are all about. You know what I mean? Because it's understandable. It's a realistic way. It doesn't really give any false kind of lovey-dovey bullshit about it. It takes it pretty. Seriously and pretty bleakly, and just pretty lands the note well, death fucking sucks, but just enjoy the time you had before.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it's got good messages and all that stuff in it, but yeah, it's just I think it's just that style of film. No matter what, and they're just kind of those ones you can really enjoy them for that time you watch them, but it's not like a Last Stand or an Expendables or something where you can watch it over and over. Or
Sabotage, Sabotage is fucking amazing.
So yeah, it's not like that.
I gotta get Sabotage on Blu-ray. I gotta get that movie. I love Sabotage so much. When I saw it on Netflix, I was so mad I didn't see that in the theaters. Oh god, that was such a good movie.
Now, did you see Maggie in the theater?
No, I actually watched it on my PS4.
Did you watch it on Amazon?
No, just PS4. I had it right on their network.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because because at first I was like, man,
$6.99.
Yeah, that's how much it was on Amazon. As I was looking, I was like, dude, it's not playing in fucking Modesto. It's not playing in Sacramento. It's barely playing anywhere. It's playing in Santa Clara and San Francisco, and that was about it. That was the only closest places. And then I was like, I thought for a second, a couple days later, I was like, wait a second. They always have, like, some of these movies you can kind of watch them right when they come out, but, like, you know, at home. So I just looked on Amazon, and I was like, or I looked on IMDb first, and then I saw a link to Amazon. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm watching it right now. And that's the first time I've ever watched a theatrical movie, like, at my house, like, that kind of style. And it was one of those kind of ones, like, well, for $7, didn't have to drive anywhere, you know, didn't have to spend all this extra money just to kind of see a movie. Don't get me wrong, I would have loved to see it on the big screen, but when it's that far away, you're like, can't beat that $7, like, little movie experience.
Yeah, and I was at work when you texted me. Did you see Maggie? I'm like, that shit already came out. I thought like it came out like another week or so. But then I was like, man, I don't want to go fucking ride all the way to the Metreon, whether it be bike or bus. You know, I was like, I don't want to ride that fucking far. And then by the time I got there, I know I'd probably want to get something to drink, whether it be I snuck something in or just bought something there. I'm like, you know, it's probably just be that I didn't give me just wait. It's on instant, so I just went on my PS4, just taking a shot in the dark, and sure enough, it was there. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I think that's cool for like, especially when movies like they get that super limited release, where I mean that movie must only be playing in like maybe like 50 theaters or something like that across the US.
Which seems weird because it has Arnold and Abigail Brenson right on the cover of it. So you think
what else is Abigail in?
Oh, she's in a lot of stuff. She was in, all right, this isn't like the best movie, but it's a recent movie. The Call with what's her name? The Halle Berry on the phone movie.
Oh, okay, she was in that movie.
She was Little Rock in Zombieland. Bring it back to that. She
was. I didn't. That makes total sense why she was in the movie then. If that was the case, I didn't realize that's who it was.
There was that movie, Little Miss Sunshine. She was Little Miss Sunshine, basically, in that movie.
Okay, so she is a much bigger actor because I looked her and I was like, I don't know who the hell that is.
And she was also, I didn't see it, but she was also, I think, Lita Ford in The Runaways.
Really?
Yeah. Huh, that was Dakota Fanning. No, somebody younger. It was Dakota Fanning. Okay, never mind.
Well, no, Dakota Fanning was
she was somebody because there was some.
Because Lita Ford had no lines in The Runaway. That's like the one thing about that movie, and I think it's because Lita Ford still is iffy about Joan Jett. So like in the Runaways movie, it's like I think she has like 2 lines or something like that in the entire film. So I don't think that was her. Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, because I remember it was a younger actress because she's pretty young still, but yeah, she was Yeah, so she's like they had to take 2 pretty big people in it. So, but then again, maybe just like the movie's so bleak and so kind of like, well, it's a zombie movie. Oh, it's a zombie. It's a zombie movie. So those sell. Like, oh yeah, it's also Arnold. Oh yeah, that's cool. Like, well, he kills like 3 people, but it's really more sad about death and about life and time we have left. Like, oh well, I don't know how we're gonna sell that. So that's probably why I got a limited release. If I had to guess.
Well, yeah, because it's totally you couldn't sell that in regular movie theaters.
I'll be 100% honest with you, though. Even though I liked it and I'm glad I rented it and enjoyed it, I probably would not have done that if Arnold wasn't on the cover. I feel a little bad saying, you don't always need a big celebrity to sell a movie, but this was a case where, I guess this one you kind of dig is Arnold. He was the reason I actually kind of went to check this movie out. I mean, I probably would have, if it was somebody else, I probably would have checked it out when it came on Netflix or something. But Arnold was the main draw for me.
Yeah, I will say. I'll just say, if it was somebody I didn't know who it was, I would never have watched it. I'm not. That sounds horrible, but it's like that is like the selling point to me is it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and I mean like I know there is always that thing. It's like you don't need a celebrity to sell a movie, but then you sometimes kind of realize that it does work. That's kind of sometimes why you're mostly attracted to a movie is because it's got somebody you like or you trust. And Arnold Schwarzenegger,
you got guys like us to watch the movie, so yeah.
So I mean, it worked for me. I mean, yeah, that's the guy, the director, the writer, and stuff. Like for him, it's like the Arnold thing should work out for that reason right there. But yeah, it is one of those kind of movies that it takes somebody who's like, you got to be a super Arnold fan, but you also got to be somebody who's open to like different genres of movies too. Because if you only went into it just looking for like an action Arnold movie, you probably wouldn't care for it. You'd be like, whatever.
Just seeing somebody with like a pumping iron poster behind them and a commando shirt, just like once you need to kill another zombie, just like cringe, like, you know, just gripping into the side of the couch, just like, you know, just nails, just like digging in, like, is he gonna fucking kill something?
It's like it started out so good. There was like, you know, he busts in that bathroom and fucking takes that zombie out. It's like, I thought the whole movie was gonna be that.
No, I'll say this though. Now that his daughter is, I mean, this is not gonna happen because it's not that kind of movie. But if now that his daughter's
Maggie
dead,
too.
Like the vengeance. He's like, I'm going to go find the zombie that bit her, and I'm gonna kill her. Like, okay, now we're talking. Now this is my kind of Arnold movie. And he's going back into that court. He's going down to like the like no-go zone or whatever. And he's gonna go try and find the zombie that killed her, but he doesn't know which one it is. So he's just gonna kill all of them. Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna stop the virus single-handedly.
There's that kid that like had like a crush on her. He's like, I'm going to the quarantine zone. Like he like knocks over the truck on the way there. Like, oh, thank you for saying that. Blows his head off.
Fuck you, zombie.
They took my daughter.
Big mistake.
They took everything from them.
We can just take this arty picture and just go the exact opposite way and just turn it back into like.
Fuck yeah! Look, I dug the artsy picture. I liked it. But I mean, I would find the same old Arnold that I've kind of known that I haven't got as much of. But granted, Terminator 5 is coming out pretty soon, so.
Well, I love like on the Arnold fans. There was this discussion when they were like, "Oh, Maggie came out. You know, here's sort of our little review of it, and got a little, you know, Arnold talking about it and all kinds of stuff." And on the comments. That nobody fucking talked about Maggie. Every single comment on there pretty much just said, like, because he mentioned King Conan, so the discussion just went from Maggie just all the way into King Conan. And then I just typed in there, I'm like, Maggie was really cool. I'm going to bring this whole conversation back to Maggie once again, because that's kind of what it's supposed to be focused on. But,
did they like it? I'm kind of a little behind on those guys. Did they like it?
Yeah, I don't think they talked about it on the podcast yet, but on the Arnold fans, they got a review on there on the website. Okay,
on the podcast, they'll probably talk about it pretty soon. I would imagine.
Yeah, because I think the last episode, I'm about halfway through it, is they just have the guy that won the Arnold contest on there. So I don't think they're talking about Maggie at all. I think it's kind of pre that, but hopefully the one right after it will be. But so we beat him to get the Maggie on there, doing our review first.
I'm surprised those guys would have it like day one. I thought they'd have special access or something.
I know, because the movie did. Well, technically, the movie did kind of come out. I guess they did. They've talked about before or whatnot. Because the movie sort of, if you would have saw it like in New York or whatever, whenever or Canada, where the fuck came out.
Oh, just clarifying. If you just said a big joke and I was just kind of like, huh? It's because the audio went out for a minute. So
okay, I didn't.
Because you were laughing right there,
but...
so it's like. It's like, was that like an opening? Just letting you know, there's no audio for like 5 or 6 seconds. So I was like, oh shit, is he saying a joke? He's laughing. Fuck. Okay.
Well,
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Just like one of those delayed laughs, like, ah! Just like, what the fuck was that?
That's so funny.
Oh, I didn't know what the level of funny was supposed to be, so I just kind of overemphasized the laugh.
I was just taking a shot in the dark. Really.
Well, there's
I'm all for Maggie 2, like, vengeance.
Maggie 2, vengeance, like, where he just goes down, like, I don't want anybody to suffer like I did. So he just goes out to hunt down every single zombie. That would be a fucking sweet movie right there.
Yeah. I'm all for that.
There was another kind of cool thing that kind of came out in the last... I mean, they've talked about it for a while, but I think it went up on Kickstarter yesterday or so. And pretty much made $1 million in one fucking day. But, you know how Konami's kind of, like, fucking everybody over, and whoever started running that place in the last handful of years has really like kind of been shooting themselves in the foot with a lot of their good franchises.
Hideo just bounced on out.
Yep, because Hideo's like, fuck you guys, you know. So right there, it's like, dude, and the guy he's not the creator of Castlevania, but he did a lot of the big Castlevania games throughout the years. His name's Koji Igarashi or whatever, whatever. I've seen his name a bunch of times before, just obviously in Castlevania. But that dude left a while ago, too, and he decided, he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to make my own pretty much Castlevania game that the fans really want, that Konami's not going to do, at least anytime soon. So he threw it up there on Kickstarter, and it's called Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Just sounds like a Castlevania game. Pretty much Castlevania. I'm just going to call it Castlevania, because that's what it is.
That's what the creator of Mega Man did. He created basically a guy. Created a character that was basically Mega Man. They called him Mighty Number 9. And he's just like, Capcom didn't want to make another side-scrolling Mega Man game. He says, well, fuck you, I do. I'm calling it Mighty Number 9.
Yeah, so it seems like this is like, I don't know what it is. Maybe there's just this turn in Japan right now. I think some of those developers, or at least the big companies, like, okay, I understand that they probably are going to, you know, because Japanese games used to be the biggest games of all time. That was like what we played as Japanese games. That's why I always say I'm still a Japanese gamer, because that's just what I know and love. But I think it's just with a lot of the American games, they start to get to this point where they're like, I think they're going, well, the Japanese-ness is not selling as well. You know, so let's try to be more American. So I think what they're doing is by really changing it. Perfect examples. You know, they start outsourcing their games, because that's what the last 3 Castlevanias were. They're all made by Spaniards and Italians. Not saying anything against them. Yeah, Devil May Cry, they outsourced that one. They did it with, I mean, Nintendo's done that too, because, you know, Metroid Prime is not made by Japanese people, but that game's really good. But I think Nintendo knows what they're doing when they outsource their stuff.
But I think something Nintendo really knows what they're doing for the most part. I mean, I think sometimes they focus too much on this. They're relying on the retroness. They're relying on the nostalgia. They'll try and throw some new stuff in there. And I think a lot of it seems weird that Capcom would be like, no, we don't want to make another Mega Man, because they all know retro and nostalgia sells, and Mega Man is one of the main, like old video game figures. You think they want to hold on to that and say, yeah, sure, why not? It'll be cheap, easy to make. We'll make that game. Why not, you know?
Well, when you think Capcom, what's the top 3 games that come to your mind?
Mega Man, Street Fighter, Resident Evil.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, dude, Mega Man's always going to be there at the top. Even if it's in somebody's top 5, I don't know why they wouldn't do it. And here's a perfect example, you know, like kind of the thing with like the Castlevania, like not think of it like the standard Castlevania game would sell fucking $1 million in one day. Like, to fund that game, and they were only asking for $500,000 to make it. That's showing the Konami's kind of had their head up their ass right now. Well, Konami, it's just that thing. It's just like, okay, don't get me wrong. I'm really looking forward to Metal Gear Solid 5. Like, I really am.
Is Hideo still sticking around for that? Did he stick around for the
I think product? That game's done. So I think that's what he did. He's just like, it's done. See you later. I think that's kind of it. That's the last game I'm doing for you guys. Fuck you. So I think that's kind of the thing. What happened is he finished the game and then literally last day just walked out.
And they literally took his name off all previous games. They said some bullshit like, well, we don't want people to get confused thinking, hey, Hideo Kojima's the brand when Konami's the brand. Like all previous games, like reprints of previous Metal Gear games all took a Hideo Kojima game off.
Huh. It's just that thing. It's like, one of the first things I noticed is when they threw out David Hayter and didn't even give him a fucking phone call. You know what I mean? Because at first I thought, I'm like, oh, David Hayter just retired. No, they just said, no, we want to get this like American audience that doesn't play video games to play video games. It's just such a dumb concept, you know? And then it's like, they even did it with the Silent Hills thing too. They put like the Walking Dead guy and the Boondock Saints. And I'm not saying anything against like him, but it's one of those ones when you're trying to sell me a video game with an actor, unless it's like a movie game, don't. That's stupid.
I think it's stupid just because it takes me out. I'm like, I'm not thinking that as this character. I'm thinking, oh, that's an actor. I don't really. If he's a voice actor in the game, I'm fine. Okay,
but don't make it look just like identical to him.
It's kind of like, even though I hear the game's fine, I think it's kind of dumb they use Kevin Spacey. If he was the voice actor for like Call of Duty, fine. But apparently he's the bad guy of, I think, the newest Call of Duty game, and they actually like motion capture him and put him in the game. And that right there it's like one of those things, like if he's the voice actor or whatever, okay, whatever. He has the evil Kevin Spacey-ness to him. But I think it's kind of like, I'm just going to be thinking that's Kevin Spacey the whole time. I'm not going to be thinking that as any particular character. You know what I mean?
No, and it's one of those ones, it's just like Keith Sutherland. And don't get me wrong, I love Keith Sutherland as an actor, but he is no Solid Snake, and I don't want Solid Snake to start looking like Keith Sutherland. Like, okay, I'll say this. I would be fine with Keith Sutherland if it was a live-action Metal Gear Solid movie and he played Snake. I would be fine with that. Mm-hmm. But in a video game, don't change what he looks like just because an actor's playing him. That's fucking retarded. It's not... Video games are not movies. They play out similar, but they're not. The whole point of a video game is that, like, your character can look the same the whole time, even if the voice actor changes. It's not like a 007 where you got to get a new actor every once in a while.
I think that was smart about the 007 video games, is they actually got actors because it felt like you're playing a James Bond movie. That makes sense. Right?
See, that's different though, because I think of something like Everything or Nothing, that Bond game. it's like it's not based off a movie, but they try to make the game just like it's a movie. And it's got Willem Dafoe in it, and it's got Pierce Brosnan, and it's got the chick from American Pie in it. What's her name?
Shannon Elizabeth.
Shannon Elizabeth, and then there's some other people in it too. But that's different because that's a movie like game, and so I think that's totally fine. But when it comes to like something that's like an original property like Silent Hill, I just thought when I saw that, it was just like when I just saw the picture of the guy and he just looked like identical to his actorness. I'm like, the game might be a cool game, but I'm kind of lost with the actor. But that game's already canceled though. Konami said fuck that game. I think when Hideo Kojima like pulled the plug on it too, just saying, you know what, screw you guys.
Well, also Guillermo del Toro was working on the game with Hideo Kojima. So once
Hideo left,
Guillermo left.
Yeah, well, the Konami just pulled the plug on that game. They just said nope, even though people seem to really like
it.
That
people were all so excited because I mean PT. I mean, I'm not sure. I think one of the dumb things about it, if it's anything like the playable teaser they released on the PlayStation, that right there would have been because I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm already kind of a puss when it comes to horror games, but I played PT and I was like, oh fuck, I'm scared to walk down this hallway. I'm scared to walk down this fucking hallway. You know what I mean? It was a really scary, chilling game. And I don't know if it all would have been first person in the actual game like that. I'm sure there would have been some, but that would have just defeated the purpose of him getting. Why even hiring this guy if it's all first person anyway, and even like the few shots he's in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. There's just some things like that. Just like, dude, it's like, and I think the sad part to me is that Konami is always been that company that's been one of my favorite ones. Like, it's literally probably my second favorite company right behind Nintendo. And it's just because it's like, dude, that's like got my favorite game series of all time. Castlevania's in there, but then like other series are really like Contra, Metal Gear Solid. I mean, then they did cool, tie-in ones like they did the Ninja Turtles games. You had Sunset Riders is another sweet game, and there's just so many badass games that Konami made over the years, and just to watch them just kind of like crap themselves, and you could actually kind of see the progress
within a year.
Well, it's been about like a 4 or 5 year process, but in the last year has been the real big problems. I almost feel like the big problem started once David Hayter got pulled. That's when I think everybody started noticing it, but you can kind of trace it back farther then, because you can see it like. I always look at kind of Castlevania Lords of Shadow. I like that game, don't get me wrong, but that game, they were trying to make like an American-like game, is what they were going for. Because it played good, it was a fun game, but it felt like almost you were playing more Lord of the Rings with like a whip than you were playing Castlevania with its kind of dark gothic anime-ness to it. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, every once in a while I think you do need a little bit of change, so I kind of accepted that. I accepted it more than a lot of other people did, because a lot of other people kind of like don't care for that game that much. And I even liked the second one and the little DS one that came in between, or the 3DS one. I liked them, but they were definitely they were nowhere near as good as like the Castlevania games that came prior to it. But that's almost kind of the start. What, you can't hear me now?
I can hear you okay now. Here we go.
Okay, because no matter what, it's still recording, so.
Okay, cool.
But, so, in the second Castlevania Lords of Shadow game that came out, they started putting Patrick Stewart and a couple other actors in it. And at first you don't really know, you don't think much of it. You're like, oh, okay, Patrick Stewart, that's cool, that works. But then there comes that point when you start noticing, okay, now they've gotten David Hayter out of there, put Keith Sutherland in there, and you start seeing it with other games. So, I don't know, it's like, I think it's just somebody got put in charge in Konami, and they decided they were going to try to go a completely different direction. And once again, I mean, like, I kind of get... Probably their sales went down. There's probably a reason why it happened, I mean, I think as like fans, people just go like, don't fucking change on us, stay the same. And then if you're kind of a company going, yeah, well, fucking, how about you start converting more people to buying the games then? Because clearly, once so I mean, I'm going to look at it like as a business side, I can see that their numbers probably did drop. So they decide, mostly when numbers start to drop, that's when people go ballsy. And it either goes in one of two ways. Either it goes in a safe direction, where they try to mimic somebody else who's doing, like, selling a lot, or they just go to a point where they're like, let's go fucking extreme, and if we're gonna go down like a burning airplane, They clearly
Which I don't think that's I think this is them trying to be safe and trying to get like, well, Americans like a big, well-known actors, right? They got those in those games, so throw them in this and give it a more American, less Japanese look to it. I think that could be part of it. And that automatically, I'm going to assume... I mean, I really don't know their demographic as well, or their marketing in Japan as well. I'm sure that sure shit probably not helping their Japanese sales.
No, I can't imagine, because Well, that's like kind of been, and Capcom, I will say this, Capcom's kind of in that same boat. They're not doing nearly as bad, but they have kind of been doing it too. Because don't get me wrong, I like that last Devil May Cry game, but it didn't feel, I don't know, it took the Japanese feel out of it, and that kind of like, it sort of lost me as a fan, because that's what I like about it, you know? Dante looks like he came off the C-dub, you know, he didn't have sort of like an anime
C-dub?
look to him. The old C-dub, Dante.
You watching the C-dub tonight? Yeah. You know, man, that's my jam. That shit's my jam.
Well, because he just does. He looks like, literally, like, that Devil May Cry looks like that could have been, like, Devil May Cry on the CW network. And it's just, like, because just give him as pretty as possible and whatnot. It's just...
TV now.
Yeah, exactly. So it was...
I watched the Flash, though. You know,
I love Flash and Green Arrow, but, like, you know, the rest of the stuff on there, we all know why it gets the bad rap. But it's just one of those ones, like, I mean, I understand, like, at some point they need to try to reach out and try to get new audiences, because we all know that the average American gamer doesn't play Japanese video games anymore. They don't. They play either mostly American games like Call of Duty, or they play some European games like Assassin's Creed and so on. But it's hard to find people that play, you know, Castlevania, or even Legend of Zelda is still kind of hard, because it's still a select fan basis, or, you know, Street Fighter or some of the others, you know, it's still not there nearly as much. I mean, obviously, there's enough fans, because you can see as if that Kickstarter worked for the Castlevania game. Like, obviously, there's enough people there, but, you know, really, $1 million isn't really that much when you think about some of these games, how much money goes into making them. So, like...
Yeah, for, like, a small little, like, starter, he's probably doing... If I imagine, maybe I'm wrong here, if he's going to Kickstarter, I imagine he's probably doing kind of like some kind of a 3DS style, maybe side-scroller Castlevania game. That's my rough guess.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's not a 3D Castlevania game. He's doing some... I think it's supposed to be kind of like they want to do another Symphony of the Night, because that's what people like, you know? And even though I think there's a period where, like, those games kind of felt like it was kind of the same game over and over again, with just slightly different looking, like, levels and areas and whatnot. But then you take a break from that for about 6-7 years, because the last one came out on DS. So I think now it's kind of like, that's where people are like, dude, when the fuck's the next one coming out? You know what I mean? You give a little bit of a break, but come on, you got.
No, yeah, I get you.
You got to come back to why people play the game.
Yeah. I think that they're in a weird state. They probably it almost seems like this is like one guy walked in the room. It's like, all right, the stats say that the kids like the Walking Deads and the 24s. And they're Boondock Saints. So here's what we're going to do. If you've seen them, the tequila commercials with Kiefer Sutherland, that makes me want to drink with that guy. Give him an eye patch. He's the new Solid Snake. I like that. I don't know why he's Texan. He's Japanese company.
He's like, I'm the Texas Japanese guy. Hey.
Well, comes in with like a big 10-gallon like hat. Like, okay, here we go, cowboys.
He's got spurs on and everything. And a big American flag shirt.
Japanese like oil businessman.
That's literally that's all I can think is who kind of took over Konami, and it's just one of those ones like. Because here's the thing: is like Metal Gear Solid 5 is going to come out. That's that will do good.
That's going to make $1 billion, and then after that, it's going to.
It might
like
tank.
After that, I could see them possibly. I think there is some trouble though, because there is some legality stuff going on with that, because they created the Fox engine for that game. And they're saying, well, we created the Fox engine, and Hideo saying, well, I actually created the Fox engine. I personally created it. I have a certain license to it. So, you know, there's a whole, like, that. So I guess if Konami walks, I mean, I don't really know jack shit about creating a video game, but I'm going to assume that, like, Konami desperately wants that Fox engine, because if they could at least get that, then they could at least lend it out to other companies, let them like use that to like power their game, make some money that way, and also that, you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, because obviously they put a ton of money into that Fox engine, so you know that like I can see why they still want to keep it, but it is just that thing. It's just like
it's in that bid stage between like if like Hideo could use it outside of Konami. That's a big thing they're trying to like debate right now.
And a lot of the reason, too, sometimes, like, this sounds like a weird thing. They say that a lot of times some of these Japanese games, the reason they're sort of going downhill, too, is sort of when they outsource those games, too, to, like, different companies. And sometimes it works out totally fine. Like, I'll say, like, a Metroid Prime is a perfect example. They, you know, a bunch of American boys put that game together, and, you know, they did a really good job, but they made it still feel like it was a Japanese game. That game doesn't feel like I'm playing an American game when I play Metroid. Prime.
Which game?
Metroid Prime.
Prime. Mm-hmm.
You know, but like,
well, there's also like Sega, like just canceled a whole like American division, just like a few months ago. Just flat out canceled it. And they said, look, we're gonna focus more on mobile gaming, and Sonic will still have a presence on the consoles, but we're primarily focused on mobile gaming. So that's just like, oh, god damn it, you know?
I know, it's just one of those ones, like, I know that Sega's still kind of, like, deep in the hole, but it's just one of those ones, like, dude, if you guys just put the effort into making some A-list games off your old franchises that still fucking kick ass, come on, Shenmue 3, Shinobi, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, you know, you have...
Jet Grind Radio.
Yeah, you have so many of these properties that I think that could come back in a big, bold way. Altered Beast, like, dude, when they canceled that, like, new one, people were fucking pissed. It's like, dude... I mean, I know these games are kind of at the point where, like, some people might, like, unless you're a retro gamer, you might have no idea what the fuck Altered Beast is, you know? But I think if, you know, you can sometimes sell an old game, like, to a brand new audience, and they don't know the difference. They just go, oh, man, this Altered Beast game looks really cool. They don't know it fucking came out in 1989 on Genesis and arcade and whatnot, but still, like, why not? But that's the sad thing is that Sega, like, since the PlayStation 2 kind of era, they've kind of stopped making their other franchises that aren't Sonic.
Yeah, and even the Sonic games are kind of lackluster. I mean, I know there's a few good ones here and there, but they still just kind of... They just need to find some consistent... I know we talk about this a million times, especially with me, but, like, they just got to find consistency. Just figure out, here, this works, this doesn't. Emphasis on that, rather than try and reinvent the wheel every single game.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, back to Konami, like, Silent Hill... That until like that Silent Hills, I think the last like 3 or 4 Silent Hill games were kind of outsourced to like, you know, cheaper American companies, which sounds so weird. It's a cheaper American company, but like
it sounds weird when you outsource it to American, like yeah, just throw it to these like savages over here. You know what I mean? But it's always you always hear about America outsourcing other shit. It's so weird when you're like, oh, we outsourced to America. Like, oh, okay.
And you know, and I haven't really ever had a chance to play any of the newer Silent Hill games. I kind of like. I think Silent Hill 4 was the last one where I think it was Japanese made. I think the rest of them, like the last couple 3, were American. And I know that they kind of went from being like A-list games where like they had a really high score to kind of being like not like they were bad games, but they just weren't perfect and they just weren't up there with say Resident Evil and stuff at that point. They kind of dropped down to kind of like to just the fans or just certain people. You know, RJ told me that they were all pretty darn decent. Like he still enjoyed them a lot. But he did say that they weren't, like, perfect games. So I think that sort of kind of bothered people. So when the Silent Hills kind of came, it was sort of like, let's go back, let's make it Japanese, you know, but we'll still have it kind of American, but we're going to have our main team working on it. We're not going to kind of half-ass it to a cheaper company.
Yeah, I think that, you know, well, you don't know. They might go under, they might come back around. We'll see what happens. It just seems so shitty that it happened in Silent Hill because... That right there was a game I know everybody was looking forward to, even whether like Walking Dead guy was in it or not. A lot of people were looking forward to that game.
Yeah.
So now they're just like, not happening now. We don't care. Fuck you. I mean, I think it's almost like they almost seem kind of like, maybe I'm wrong here, but it seems like they're almost kind of like begrudging towards the fans for like siding with the creators rather than the company itself.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing because it's like. That's literally what Konami did. They did the thing, and you know you see it happen all the time. It happens with bands. It happens with all sorts of places where they literally say like, you know, this core audience that you have, fuck them.
Fuck them.
Fuck them up their stupid fucking asses. Like they literally do that thing where it's just like, and I always think that is the worst thing you can do. You never crap out on your core fans, no matter what, because those are the people that they will buy the crap you make, even if it's not that good. They're the people that stick by you the whole way. So the second that you say fuck you guys. That's where you lose because now you're kind of off in the thin air where God knows who the hell wants to pick you up because you're really reaching for an audience that you don't even have now.
I really like that one JonTron video where he was basically just like talking shit on Square Enix, and it ended up with him just saying like Square Enix's new line like we're Square Enix. Why? Because fuck you guys.
Well, yeah, Square is another kind of company, too. Now, like, there's at least the thing I will say about that they kind of changed for, like, because they did the thing, because for the longest time, Final Fantasy, there's people that are like, why the fuck are they just stand still there? Like, why can't they just run around? And these are the people that never really played RPGs.
Those are the people that don't play RPGs?
Yeah, it was the people that didn't play RPGs, so, like, they could never understand why the people that did play RPGs liked them so much. So, like, Square did the thing that's like, you know those people that hate our fucking games? Yeah! let's try to get them on our team. So what they did is they switched over to that audience, and then all the people are like, but I like RPGs. They're like, yeah, well, fuck you. Go find a new game to play. Oh, wait, they don't make them anymore for you. Well, you got a whole, 90s catalog, right? Fucking that, your Chumbawamba CDs. Go fuck yourself.
Plus, as the games became more active and more like running around, the characters even looked more like, I mean, I don't want to sound like some fucking macho dickhead or nothing, but they look so much more feminine and so much more girly and so much more metro. And the thing about, like, even though they looked very anime-ish in previous Final Fantasy games, they still looked kind of like, okay, I can see this dude like getting into a fight. I can see this dude going to war with someone. And then like these later ones though, they look like I can't move too fast. I don't want to fuck up my hair. I don't want to get dirt on my nice, Gucci, my new Gucci jacket. They all fucking look way too fashionable and way too like overly stylized. Like, I can't take this fucker seriously.
No, yeah, I will say they went a little bit too far on that. Yeah. At least they look anime though. That's like, I don't know what it is. It bothers me when I play a Japanese game, and unless it's supposed to be something like Metal Gear Solid where it takes place in the U.S. I hate when like they just don't have a Japanese look to them. It's kind of like I liked when Dante had like he looks anime in like the first 4 Devil May Cry games. I don't mean like anime like because anime is looked upon as like, oh no, not like the stereotypical like kids
big
anime. He just has that masculine anime look to him. And then in the new one, even though the game's really fun and I think it's got a cool story and everything like that, it's just he just looks like it looks like an American game, which it is, but
yeah, I
don't like that. It bothers me. And it's,
no, I get you.
And it's something like that too. It's like I don't want it's like they did the same thing with Castlevania. They made it kind of look like it was it just looks like Lord of the Rings. Like that's a simple way to kind of break it down. It's like Lord of the Rings is popular. Make it kind of like that. Because you're fighting goblins and shit like that. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, Dracula could have goblins and orcs, and if he wanted to. That doesn't throw me off. But at the same time, it's like, throw a little bit more gothicness into it. That's kind of like, the gothic anime-ness is what makes Castlevania kind of like Castlevania.
Well, since he left, it might come back around. It might be something else different, but since he left, maybe whatever he's making will come back to that Castlevania-ness that you're looking for.
It looks fucking awesome. I put down $60 on the Kickstarter for it. I was like, I'll buy it.
Oh, there you go.
I got the physical copy of it, so I'm like, that'll be cool. You know? So I was almost going to get the $100 one, but I'm like, I don't think I'm like, do I have to pay this now or when the game comes out? It's like, oh, I have to kind of pay this like in the next 30 days. I don't have $100 right now. I was going to... Because the game doesn't come out till like 2017, so we could all be dead by the time it does.
You got some time, yeah.
But I'm like,
you forget where you.
I'm like, I'm gonna buy that game anyway, so it's just like I don't care. I'll take a copy of it. It'll be sweet. But yeah, it's just kind of a bummer though that a lot of those Japanese companies are kind of crapping themselves out on there and so on.
Well, maybe they'll come back around, I mean, once they see sales are going down even worse, maybe they'll come back around and doing what they're good at, but who knows? I mean, the market's always going to change. Right now it's more American-driven, but at some point it might come back around.
Yeah, it's okay. It'll work its magic around again. And hopefully Konami and Capcom will kind of learn the error of their ways and bring back their, like, star creators and not worry about it. But yeah, well, that's probably a good place to wrap it up at. Until then, go to oldmanorange.com and check out all our podcast, animation, and all kinds of other stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at Spencer S. Holmes, and you can follow Dunigan at Dunigan Ryan.
Thank you. Yep.
And until then,
I can speak for myself. I can say my Twitter handle.
Make sure to review us on iTunes and all those other good places, and yeah, till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange Podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorange.podcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. If you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again, and tune in next week for more Old Man Orange Podcast.